Hey guys, Dr. Greg here, and on today's episode of the Daily Dose of Dr. Greg, I have a local private chef, Chef Neal, with me, and he talks about how he got into doing private chefing, how he, the ingredients that he uses, and his mission. You will be blown away. Listen closely, and you're going to love this episode and share it with your friends. All right, guys, Dr. Greg here, and on this episode, I have my good friend Chef Neal on board with us. Chef Neal, thanks for being here today.
Hello. Thanks.
It's we've been friends for a couple of years now. We met in conversing around an elite athlete and making sure that they could have what they want and need, and here we are 2 years later.
Yes.
Talking about food, dude.
Yes.
So a lot of people understand eating and clean eating, and I'm grateful that it's starting to become more of a understood world.
Sure.
Yet there's still some I'm not so sure about where this is all at. So when it comes to clean and healthy eating, why don't you maybe just chat about that a bit for our listeners?
I realized several years ago that there's a lot of Americans that have issues with their dietary needs, right? So that's when I designed a line of meals that were gluten-free, low in sodium, no added sugars, dairy-free, right?
Right.
Because those items tend to cause a lot of issues inside people's bodies, right?
Mm-hmm.
And so, and you can't find a lot of that stuff out in the world. Like, say, if you go to a restaurant and eat, you don't know what they're putting in your food. It's
impossible.
Right?
Yeah.
So, it's just important to me, you talked about clean ingredients and fresh ingredients, and those are going to be all natural ingredients, right?
Okay.
There's, no preservatives in them. They're pretty much your fresh vegetables, your fruits. Your proteins are going to be pasture raised or from a local farm that you love, or you see what they eat, right? Because what they eat goes into their body, which goes into your body.
Totally.
Right? So that's what we talk about clean eating.
So just pump the brakes there for a second.
Yeah.
So paint a picture for me around your world then. Were you a chef in some big restaurant, or what did your world look like when you had this epiphany of these people are not doing what they should, and man, I feel like this calling on my heart to step in. What were you doing at that time?
So healthy eating has always been a passion of mine. Okay. So
back to being a little kid?
I would say I grew up eating comfort food, right?
Okay.
My mom was from a family of 9, and so she was the oldest daughter. So it was a lot of comfort food, casseroles, being Midwest and stuff. So I remember eating, cream chip beef over toast. I mean, that was kind of like a dinner. My mom, my mom and Maggie. So tuna noodle casserole. That's what I grew up on. Spaghetti. But then it was when I moved to Minneapolis, I was in the fine dining, restaurant scene a lot, and I just got immersed into it. And then I love to entertain, and so we'd have people over. So it was reading all these, different recipes and stuff from magazines, and I really cared about what I was putting into my body because it was a direct reflection, on how I would feel.
Yes.
Right?
Yeah.
So I was trying to create this, I call it 100% salad, where I'm getting 100% of my daily nutritional needs in a salad, right?
Nice.
So greens and dried fruit, and I think I was cottage cheese and stuff for the protein, and nuts and seeds. I was into hemp seeds,
long before they were a cool thing.
Yeah. Right? Because I just knew that just this protein powerhouse, right? And so I was just really into, biking. I'd bike to work and just...
So you're working in the food industry at the time?
Not then, no.
Okay.
And like I said, I just enjoyed entertaining.
Yeah, totally.
Right? And so fast forward, 10 years, and I'm like, all right, it's time to, go to school for something I enjoy. Right? So if I was going to be a personal chef for someone, I knew I had to be credible.
Yes.
Right? And so that's why I wanted to go to school.
Oh, that's crazy. Dude, I love that. Okay, so time out now. So the mom that's listening to this podcast is just saying, so he had time to go and read these books and find all these things and make this 100% salad, and here I am. I don't even have time to do any of that. What would you say to that mom listening to this?
Don't freak out, about something like that, right?
Yeah.
Find stuff that you enjoy to eat, but at the same time, it's, nutritional for you. You want to, pay attention to what's inside of it, right? We talked about clean eating.
Yes.
And once you start, you can't, pronounce some of the ingredients, then just put it back on the shelf.
Right.
It's like, just give it up, okay?
Yeah.
So I even went through a phase where everything that I ate was just whole food, right? So I would just go into the grocery store, whatever I could take, and that's how I would eat it, right? Like, so if it had the preservatives and stuff in it, it would just stay on the shelf. So it was a lot of fresh fruits and vegetables. Went through a lot of canned tuna, actually, in that day. Just as a poor college kid,
I get that.
But yeah, it was, and that's, that's just what I believed in. So
if I hear you correctly, what you're telling that mom is like, don't think that you have to become a executive trained chef and have everything perfect. Start simple, right?
That's really good. Yep. Start with simple food, move up from there. The funnest thing about cooking is that it's your creativity, right? Like you can look at a recipe, read a recipe. You don't have to have all those ingredients in the recipe, right? Just do your best. And you know what? If you like it with more paprika, then put more paprika on it.
I know. So, you say that and I have to giggle, dude, because I was raised in a house. My mom was actually a home ec major in college. My mom was raised on a large ranch in North Dakota, and my mom is straight up Betty Crocker. Like that girl, like I grew up eating food from scratch. We had a huge garden. If we had chickens, I probably butchered the chicken at my aunt's farm.
There you go.
So I say all that, so I may be like you, like, oh, I'd like this a little bit spicier, so I'm gonna add some of this, and I want this a little more savory or a little more protein, and as lovely as I can say this, my wife is the biggest rule follower in the world. So if the recipe says,
oh my gosh,
right, if the recipe says 1/8 of a teaspoon, she wouldn't even dream about a 16th or a quarter. Sure. So, and I think sometimes, now, the demise of my way of cooking is if I make something that's epic, and my family's like, dude, you gotta make that again. And I'm like,
Yeah, always write it down. Like, honestly, like, even if you're just playing around, write it down, because if it turns out great, you want to know.
I've never wrote it down.
So I always, like, when I'm doing it, making up recipes and stuff for my business, like, I'm writing it down as I go along.
Yeah.
And then I take a picture of it, because I'm always going to lose that sheet, right?
Totally. So, and then do you go back and like it's a note, like it's a scratch, or?
Well, no, I'm always adjusting on the paper when I'm making it, right? Like I'm tasting it.
Tell me your process, right? So you have an idea. What does it take from something from your head to get to my table with the Chef Neal label on it?
Sure, very good. So my friend was like, Neal, you need to make this like Philly cheesesteak soup. I was like, got it. All right. So I took out some flank steak, seasoned it up, grilled it off.
Yep.
And I was like, okay, now it needs, the peppers and onions. But I can't just throw peppers and onions in. I need them to have, more flavor. So I grill them, right, so they get that fire roasted flavor.
Yeah.
And then I'm like, okay, so now it needs like almost a beef broth. So I make my own beef bone broth, right? Yeah. So I had that in there. And I'm thinking cheese sauce. So I'm thinking some heavy cream and some just regular Kojak cheese, and then I'm thinking it needs something more to just elevate it, take it over the top.
Yeah.
So I'm like, okay, smoked Gouda. So I throw that in there, right? And then like top it off with some fresh scallions, and then it's an amazing soup. And all the ingredients are, keto friendly.
Right.
And so bada bing, bada boom.
So you'll catch yourself, so someone gives you an idea.
Yeah.
And then you take your idea to the kitchen. And then you test. And do you feel like you have a pretty good palate as to what the world likes? Or do you feel like you're, like, who's your testing ground? What is that? Who are your taste testers, and what does that look like?
Honestly, it's the clients every week. I'll add something to the menu. I'll see how it sells. If it sells, it becomes a regular
Pretty
thing.
easy to figure that out, right?
Is.
Like this thing went, I can't keep this in stock. Probably something to make more of.
It's like that Philly cheesesteak soup. It's really hard to keep in stock. Another thing that I do too, like I'm looking at stuff, say if I have leftovers, right? I'm looking.
Right.
So I created 2 different soups based off of leftovers. One was a meat and potato soup.
Amen.
Right?
Yes.
So I had a bunch of grilled sirloin and then, roasted potatoes, some smashed potatoes, and so I did the classic mirepoix of, the celery, onion, carrots, and then into a beef broth again with the steak and potatoes, and it was a very delicious soup. I think I had like my prime rib blend to it, so I had the rosemary and stuff to it, and just the fresh cracked black pepper, just took it over the top. And then the other one was this roasted chicken, creamy chicken roasted vegetable, right? So I had all the roasted vegetables,
leftovers and
chicken stock, heavy cream, and that was the soup.
You had me at heavy cream twice.
That's all. I honestly did make a great soup.
Let's go back. I know we're going to jump around a bit.
Yeah.
What is it? So let's say that there's a person that maybe has walked this same journey as you, and they're like, hey, I want to be a personal chef, and you said that you wanted to have that credibility. Would you still take the same steps educationally that you took, or what would you tell that person that's like, I want to do what you do? What do I do?
I would say definitely find a mentor, right?
Okay.
Get a job in a restaurant, right? Because I think 80% of what I learned is from on-the-job experience.
Exactly.
Right? So in culinary school, I learned all the classical French, cuisine, like just the practical stuff, right?
Yes. Yeah.
And throughout my jobs in my 20-plus year career, like I've definitely learned a lot more, right? Mm-hmm. And then plus, stay on top of, reading, doing recipes, doing all that stuff on your own, and finding out what you like, but then getting under someone as being like their sous chef.
So their assistant sitting in their hip pocket.
Yeah, so you can learn and like really just dive in, because I honestly believe it's all about what you put into it is what you'll get out of it, right?
100%. Do you have a sous chef right now that works with you?
Not yet. I'm working on it, right?
So you have to get to a point to where you would have the need for that person.
No, I do have the need. He is he's a manager at another restaurant right now, so I'm really pulling hard on him. Yeah, so
it'll work out. I love that.
I think so.
I'm a big tips and tricks kind of guy. So if someone's like, Chef Neal, give me your best tips for clean eating. Like, what are the musts that a listener should be like? Okay, do this, don't do that, buy this, throw this away. Like, what would be your top, maybe handful of recommendations?
That's really good. Definitely start in your cupboards, your cabinets, and just throw all that stuff away. All the stuff that you don't eat, haven't touched in 6 months, just throw it all away, right?
Yeah.
And then you need to replace a bad habit with a good one, right?
Okay.
So that's just going to be all the new food then that's going to have to come in.
What would you, if someone was like, okay, I'm willing to get rid of something and replace it, what would be your top ditch and pick up?
I would say the ditch would probably be like vegetable oil shortening.
I was going to say the same thing.
And then replace it with like your olive oil, your cold pressed, organic olive oil is definitely the best. Okay. And then there's, avocado oil, which is also really good.
Yeah. Totally.
Coconut oil. Refined coconut oil. And I just made some popcorn with coconut oil.
It's amazing.
I don't know. I haven't been doing that my whole life.
My word! I wish that popcorn was actually healthy. There's so many carbs in it. And I've made I buy genetically GMO free kernel. I put and I have like the old school like turn it on the stovetop.
Oh, okay.
Unit, coconut oil, kernels, and then I have grass fed butter and good salt that I nailed. Oh my gosh, like dominate.
Are you a black salt, Himalayan pink?
Ooh,
gray salt?
Real salt from Utah is probably my pick.
That's cool.
I like a fairly minerally salt. I like things salty. I know that's kind of a. Actually,
that's okay. I salt my stuff too. So.
Yeah, it's funny because I was actually I was doing my Bible study this morning, and we're in Mark chapter 9 where it talks about the salt being salt and what salt does, and I think if there's enough salt, it's perfect. If there's too much, it's like whew, that's salty, and if there's not enough, it's like, did you put anything in this? So I thought that was a really cool thing to read about this morning. That's a whole other conversation that we can have on here though as well. So we talked about what made you a chef. My wife and I, probably a lot like your standard client that you guys have. We have kids that are active and they are busy, and we value good food. Right. So, how would you what would be like if you were to say, Greg, these are your go-tos, man. You have to have these things at all times. What are the go-to simple meals that you'd recommend for a family like ours?
Sure. So even my kids, I had them design meals for me, right?
Lovely.
So it's like they're designed by kids and they're for kids, right? Mm-hmm. And so these are smaller portions, right? But they don't always necessarily have to be heated, to be eaten, right?
Yeah.
So like I rolled out with these organic grass-fed beef sliders, right? Nice little, beef patties, right? That kids can kind of just pick up and eat. There's sweet potato fries and some grapes, so, right? And then another line that I have are snack packs. I have a few different ones. My favorite ones, it's called On the Farm, right? So it's got like 2 hard-boiled eggs, some fresh cut veggies, and then cheese cubes, so
that's clutch.
And then we have one protein power snack pack, and so it's got like grilled chicken, hard-boiled eggs, our house-made ranch, carrots, celery, and then cheese cubes.
So just having those things handy, ready to rock and roll.
And you know what? Even if you guys as parents, the easiest thing to do, if the food is ready, prepped, and available, the kids will eat it. Yeah. Right? So if you already have your carrots cut, your celery cut, your broccoli cut, put it in the fridge, cheese cubes, all that kind of stuff. If you have that available, that's what they're going to go to versus the bag of chips, in the pantry or whatever,
Right.
So
just get what's easy.
That's what's funny too, you mentioned like, your love for the kitchen, and it's one thing, like if you're doing it like for fun, like, but it's like another thing if you're doing it like for production.
Yeah, man.
It's totally different.
How have you kept your passion? Because,
good.
I love when people come to my house and they're like, Greg, this is amazing.
That's what.
And I'm like, I know.
It's like, that's why I love doing it.
I'm a words of affirmation guy, so
Sure.
So just come to my house and enjoy my food and tell me how amazing it is.
That's why I was like...
And I get that there's that balance, right? Like now, this... Can you keep that passion component, but now it's a production, and you may not have that same feedback, and you're like cooking this masterpiece meal often. How have you balanced that?
And it's been hard, honestly. It is hard. And I talked about getting a sous chef, someone that I can train.
Yeah.
And be able to give him kind of like control the kitchen.
Yeah.
Right. And then now I can go out and seek other clients, customers, accounts, that kind of thing. So,
sure.
So then, and then for me, it's like, I love creating the dishes, right? I love talking to people, customers. Like, I don't have any problems with that. And then now jumping into the production aspect of it, it's, I'm there on Mondays from 6 a.m. till 9 p.m. Right? Like, I have so much going on, right? I've actually created formulas in Excel to let me know how much of each protein, of each flavor I need to make, right? So, like, all my vegetables, like, to the ounce.
Yeah, like, there's no room for creativity.
Well, no, it's all creative. Like, I've created
on the front end, but now it's production.
Now it's production. Yeah, we're doing 500 meals every Monday. It's production.
It's straight up.
You got to
get work done.
Yeah.
You have to be exhausted
on
a Monday night.
And you know what's funny is like working 15 hours for yourself. So much different than working that for someone else. So it is my passion. It is what I enjoy.
What I hear you saying though is what really fills your cup, no pun intended, is you'd like to get more to the, like, who are the people that are enjoying the stuff, and how can you take your knowledge and get it out there more, as opposed to, like, if I said, one of my kids loves to play Would You Rather. So if I said, Chef Neal, would you rather have a 10-inch chef knife in your hand all day long prepping vegetables, or would you rather, be rubbing elbows with potential clients or business partnerships? You'd be like, here's the knife, Greg. Like, I'm good. Not that you don't understand it, though. You get that there's obviously limitations, of what can happen inside that. So would I be correct in that you would rather?
I would rather be the one bumping elbows. You know, I mean, I'm 45, and it's like, 50-pound sacks of potatoes are getting heavy, and it's standing in one spot, cutting all day. That's hard too, So. Plus, it's the burns, it's the cuts. It's
right. So let's go there for a second. Where do you, Lord willing, and whatnot, where do you see Chef Neal's Healthy Meals in 5 years?
Yeah, I see us having a very large warehouse production kitchen, making 10,000 meals a week out of. I see us, helping many families throughout, the Twin Cities area. We can even go nationwide in 5 years. Who knows?
Yeah, right.
But, that's my vision. My dream is to be just helping out as many people as we can.
So what I think I hear you saying is you want to just do more of what you're already doing and have more people on the inside helping you do that.
Yeah, I need to raise up a small army, to
and that burden, does that excite you? Or are you like, oh man, that would be... Because for me, one of the things that I love about what I get to do now is, so Simon Sinek's one of my business mentors, and he talks about like executives per se are people that take care of the people that take care of the people. So for example, like if you have a sous chef, you are taking care of him or her,
right,
knowing that he's taking care of the people. So there's a shift inside of that.
Yeah.
And part of that is I have a passion for building people and for equipping people and for pulling their potential out of them. Because I know if I make them a better people, now it's one to many. When you started, even to this day, those 500 meals are coming from your hands. And I think I love that vision of how could I take who I am, the processes, the Excel spreadsheets, the communication, and bring people in knowing that, like, for example, I guarantee you that you would bring some people into your world that would be like, remember going back to the knife and the interaction, they'd be like, can I have the knife?
Mm-hmm.
I love the knife. So we find those people.
Yeah.
And I, like, for example, even in my business, what we've found is I used to be everything. I used to be the guy that would answer the phone and the person that did everything. And now what we've learned is there's about 3 things that I am the best at in what we do. And then we bring people in. So there's a friend of mine, another guy, his name's Dan Sullivan. He's a business coach. And he actually wrote a book called Who, Not How. And the gist of that book is, like, for example, let's say digital marketing. You might be like, oh, I have to learn that. And I'd be like, no, you don't. You need to find a who instead of figuring out the how. So that's been really beneficial for us. Like for example, we have an executive producer in this room right now that's behind the controls. I think his stuff is cool and I could learn this. However, I don't need to because Ben's amazing.
Right.
So I think that's one thing as we grow and we have this. And by the way, I love your vision because I love that you actually closed your eyes when you were telling it to me because you can see it. Sure. You saw that warehouse. You saw what the production kitchen looked like. You probably saw how many chefs were in that kitchen. You probably saw what the coolers and the freezers and the delivery trucks. You probably have all that mapped out in your head. And I love that our brains can really bring those things, those visions that are congruent. So that is super cool. So let me ask you this then. So outside of cooking and delivering amazing meals, like what fills your cup?
I spend time with the family and stuff. Like,
tell me about your family.
Sure, we have 3 beautiful girls. Oldest is like 13 and just trickles down. And
very cool.
11, 9.
You're a girl dad.
I am.
Nice work, dude.
It's payback.
13, 11, 9, you said?
Yeah, it's payback for sure.
So
good. Yeah, the oldest is just a spitting image of me, the character, everything like that, so we
There's
get
your
along.
sous chef probably, right?
Eventually, yeah, for
yeah,
sure.
That's so good.
And the middle one, she's looks more like me, has, the more olive complexion and the dark hair. And the young one, she's just an angel. She runs around singing all day, just dancing and stuff.
So you enjoy being a dad?
I do, yeah. When we started going to like kung fu together, so she's my little kung fu buddy. Yep.
The thing that one of my clients, I was blessed to work for an Olympic gold medal wrestler many years ago, and what he said to me, because our life when I worked with him was Olympics to Olympics, like everything was, it was London to Rio and Rio to Tokyo, and he said you'll never recreate the chapter you're in, and I remember he said this to me right around the time that my wife and I had our last child. And I literally remember holding Navia the day she was born. And I remember thinking, I will never, ever, ever again have a time in my life when I have a 1-day-old baby of my own in my hands. And that really struck me. Because I think a lot of times this world says, like, what are your dreams? And you're like, and a lot of times what we hear with that is, is I'm not content with where I am because there's this thing that I'm looking for, and it robs us of right here, right now. Like, for example, in a couple hours, I'm going to go home, and I'm going to have that little 5-year-old, and my 7-year-old, my little girls, are going to scream daddy, and they are going to, at Mach 12, run into me and launch themselves into my arms.
Yeah. Just enjoy it, right?
Right. So I love that you can have that. What else? What else would I catch you doing on a day that you don't have a chef's knife in your hand?
Yeah. So I bought my middle daughter chickens for her birthday, right? So we've been making a chicken coop, and
oh my word!
Yeah, right. And we decided to put it into the garden areas fenced in, and so she let all the chickens go, and they took care of the garden for me.
Yeah. How many chickens does she have?
It's 10.
Are they laying yet, or did they lay for
yet,
you?
Yeah.
Okay, so it takes a while.
It does, yeah. But I feel they'll probably be laying soon.
That is so cool.
Yeah.
In lieu of that, because I grew up in a ranching area and community,
Sure.
Talk to me about, I think that you do things differently than a lot of food companies, and a lot of it is your sourcing. So would you mind sharing kind of just like your philosophy and your mindset around, because not every pepper or pound of beef is created alike.
Yeah,
talk to me about your philosophy and your doingness around that.
Yeah, you're very right. About that. Like I said, what's your food eating? What soil is your peppers growing in?
Right.
Right. Because kale is like one of the dirtiest vegetables because it's pulling all the nutrients in from the soil, right? Which is not very good, especially if it's not organic, so all those pesticides and stuff, and kale is like, it goes deep, right? So it's pulling all that in to the kale, right? And so you eat that kale, now it's, inside you per se, right? Okay. So just got to be super careful of what vegetables you're, sourcing organically, right? Because also carrots, they can say these carrots are organic, but just because they're grown in sand, right? So you take those carrots, versus like say Farmer Bob's carrots down the road, which are also say organic. Yeah. And the flavor profile is going to be so different.
100%.
Right. So it matters what your stuff is growing.
I have to tell you, so my mom's 100% German. This one I was telling you about, and she makes German food from scratch, and her famous soup is called Borscht soup. It's a vegetable soup, beets-based soup. And when Mom's in a rush, she'll make it with like frozen vegetables, and it is just blah. And this summer, I took her recipe, and I went to the St. Paul Farmers Market, and I got fresh beets and fresh dill and fresh beans and fresh potatoes, and it was to die for. It was so good. So it makes such a difference. Like, not all vegetables are created alike. So now, with that being said, are you able to support local farmers per se? Or are there rules because you're commercial, or how does that game work?
When I process them, those rules change, right? I can't turn around and sell you a pork loin that I bought, but I could turn around and sell you a pork loin that I cooked for you from a farmer, right?
Nice. Okay.
So yeah, if I had depending on a farmer that could support me and my usage, right, that's another story, right? Because it takes a long time to grow a cow. A cow only has
properly, especially, right?
Yeah, a cow has 1,200 pounds of meat on it, but then it's all different parts of the cow, right? Yeah. So if I'm doing just sirloin steaks, and I'm running through 200 pounds of sirloin a week, or even say like chicken, right? That's so hard, so being able to have that supplied for me, right? Because there's a lot of farmers that they'll just have whole chickens. Well, now I need it processed. I need boneless, skinless breast, because I'm also in production mode too. So
exactly. Yeah, you're not the guy that has the hanging half of beef that rolls into your kitchen. Right. Now, you probably know how to process one, but it's just not feasible for you to debone and process. You don't have bandsaws sitting in your kitchen. So, dude, that is so good. So I am, so you talked about what you're currently working on. So you're in at least one grocery store, or if not a couple, here in the Twin Cities area.
We are definitely in the Egan Hy-Vee.
Okay. Yep. So if you're in the greater Minneapolis area right now, or who knows, by the time that this comes out, it might be more, but for sure, Hy-Vee and Egan.
Yeah, we're working on Lakeville and Savage.
And those are freezer section things?
So there will be, yeah. So we do crock pot ready meals, right? So we have the meat, the vegetables, the sauce, everything packaged up, right? They're vacuum sealed, right? In these, and so keep them in your freezer. It just makes it really quick and easy.
Throw them in the crock pot, go to work, come home and enjoy.
Yep.
And how many different options?
I have 8 right now.
Whoa.
Yeah. So working on, I mean, if you buy them online, there's 30 different meals that I have. Okay. However, for the retail, we have 8. So,
okay. Yeah. And then the local online, so it's chefnealshealthymeals.com.
Correct, yeah.
And you cook on Mondays, and people can go on and order whatever they need, and you guys deliver within about 25 miles of the Lakeville area?
Yep, yeah.
That's amazing.
So we go as far up to Hopkins, Hampton, all the way up to
Woodbury,
Lake Elmo.
Yeah. Very cool. And so people hear about paleo and keto and all of these things. Do you have, what type of, dare I call it, diets per se do you cater to in your website?
I like to cater to all of them.
Yeah.
Right? Because like I said, with eating healthy, it's just based on these diets, right?
Okay.
So we do have paleo, we do have keto.
Okay.
But you'll find our food is almost naturally paleo, naturally.
Yeah, because you're not doing a bunch of grains and a bunch of nasty things in there. Yeah.
So yeah, with like say my keto package, you're not going to find those grains in there, right?
Totally.
So you're getting a protein and vegetables, and then a nice fat boost with the gourmet compound butter.
That sounds amazing. What is your top selling item?
It is the freezer meal packages, but that's only because it's like $200.
The reach of them, yeah.
Yeah, $200 a unit for those 10 meals, and then each meal feeds 4 to 6 people, right? So that's a huge top seller for us.
Yeah.
Breaking it down into the individual meals, people love the grilled sirloin and the grilled salmon.
Yeah.
And then the next one is going to be our chicken parm. So we do a gluten-free chicken parm that's really good. We sell it with organic brown rice pasta and our house-made marinara.
Now, before we walked into the studio here today, you talked about a trailer and the ability to come on site and serve like events.
Yes.
So tell the listeners a little bit more about that. By the way, if you want his trailer, at the same time my daughter graduates from high school, it's busy.
You'll have to fight him for that.
You're going to have to fight me for that one.
No. Hopefully we'll have 2 up and running by
Hey, there you go.
But,
so tell us more about the trailer.
So yeah, I actually got it from my uncle. He used to do cater, barbecues and stuff like that. So got it from him, came fully loaded with all the equipment. And
you can't pull that with a BMW though, can you?
No. So my friend does have it's like a 2500 series truck.
Absolutely.
He pulls the trailer, and then I'm always pulling the smoker, right? So we show up to an event.
That's right, 2 different.
At the same time.
Yeah. Okay, so go back. So tell me more about it.
So we just did like a Oktoberfest party, right? So I did the VIP event at the top of the hill. Had all the food ready for them. We did like a smoked, like a pork crown roast is? It's just like the pork loin with all the bones still in it, right?
Yes.
And so I smoked those, right? So each person just got this nice thick pork chop, with the bones still in it.
That's amazing.
And did like this apple and red fruit compote. That was kind of like the sauce for it.
Okay.
So just imagine this flavory, with like cherries and blueberries and apples and garlic, and then like the garlic mashed potatoes and grilled asparagus. So they got like that meal with like this.
So for the listeners, what would be like the ideal like event? Would it be a wedding, or would it be a high school graduation, or would it be a family reunion, or like what fits right into the wheelhouse of the trailers?
The trailer would be definitely for outside events. With the Oktoberfest, we use the trailer to do. We had pork schnitzel that we were
amazing.
Frying out of. We had our brats, the smoked brats, grilled brats. And then a bunch of different sides, they could choose from. So we also did an event in Burnsville. We did smoked chicken wings, right? And so we're selling those out of the 240 pounds chicken wings, just gone.
That is amazing.
Just it was insane. But
good problem to have.
Definitely, it would be an outdoor event.
That's cool.
Love it there to be like, 200 people, I think would be great.
That's super cool. Okay, so as we wrap up, so a person's listening to this, they're like, oh my gosh, I'm in the Minneapolis area. This is awesome. How would you encourage someone to just sample your stuff, or how would you encourage them to be like, just do this, and this, and I'll give you an idea of who I am and what I offer and what it tastes like, and then you can know whether or not you're all in, or maybe it's not for you. So what would you like if someone's listening, like, okay, all right, I'm gonna do this. So they go to chefsnealshealthymeals.com, and what should they get?
The sampler package is an easy one to start with.
There we go.
Right, so it's 5 of my best top selling proteins, right?
Okay.
Along with there's 5 of our sauces.
Okay.
Special sauces in each one. So it gives us it will give you a good idea, kind of like what we're about, right? So you get 5 meals. I think it's like $62, something like that. It is, yeah. One of our taglines is "You can afford to eat healthy," right? That's something that I believe we can offer for you.
That's good.
Right, and so with this, now it's your health delivered, right? So that's what we're focusing on here.
That's so good, dude. That's so good. All right, last question. This one's not on the sheet, just so you know.
That's right.
If you could put any statement on a billboard and everyone in the world could see that statement, what would it say?
First thing that came to my mind is our mission statement, right?
Which is
love God, love people, eat healthy, live healthy, and then teach others to do the same. So
works for me, man.
All right.
I love that. All right, you guys, there you have it. Chef Neal on our podcast. What an amazing conversation. So if you found value in this, we would love for you to share it with your loved ones and comment. If you are so willing to, give us a 5-star review wherever you might listen to podcasts. I offer a free bottle of my favorite vitamin D for each episode, so you'll get your name in a drawing to do so. And we're just grateful to pass things along. So Chef Neal, dude, great conversation. By the way, we had conversations about us bringing future podcasts into Chef Neal's kitchen to do some how-tos.
That'd be fun.
You're going to probably see this lovely olive-skinned, bearded dude and I sometime soon. So there you guys have it. Have a great day.
Thank you.